Cody.
I'm Taylon.
And I'm Shawenta.
And for those who are listening for the very first time, we are a bi-weekly radio show podcast comic book club covering any and everything regarding comics and manga. We have each co-host pick a book that follows a specific theme and review a book for each episode. Then we wrap up the theme with a post-mortem episode covering our opinions and favorite moments from each of the books. This is our first book in the theme of Western Comics Classics. We're reviewing the Galactus Trilogy of the original Fantastic Four, which is by Stan Lee, penciled by Jack Kirby, inked by Joe Sinnott, and lettered by Artie Simek. I don't know who did the coloring. That is not credited.
It might have been this guy, Artie Simek.
No, that's who did the lettering.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't say it because it literally says, "How'd he get here?"
Yeah. I don't think that colorists were often credited at that time. Usually it was a woman in the field.
Oh, I gotcha.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so with that being said, let's jump into our review, starting with a summary. So the Galactus, we kind of called it the Galactus Trilogy. It's a saga. It's 3 issues. Plus we read issues 48 to 51. So 4 issues total. 51
of the Fantastic Four.
Oh yeah, of the Fantastic Four. And it is definitely a very Marvel story arc of the time. But because we start out with the ending of a different story arc, which is the Fantastic Four are finishing off a battle with the Inhuman mad brother Maximus. And he basically uses a big machine. I think it's the Atmos gun or something. But yeah, whatever it is, it's a big weapon. And it basically causes earthquakes, more or less. It vibrates the world. And he really thinks that that's going to kill humanity. But it's shown pretty clearly that everybody's just a little shaken up. They're not... Maximus thought that humans were like Jello, I guess, or something.
Well, it's the same thing with how you can't stand too close to a rocket, right? Like, you will shake and die.
Right, yeah.
But then nobody dies. He's like, darn.
Yeah.
And then it comes out, of course, his fellow people who are like, he's trying to take over, are like, look, it's because we're just like humans too. Mm-hmm. We're just humans with special powers. We're not like some other species.
Yeah. But he can't really accept this, and so he turns the weapon backwards, I guess, and it creates what they call a negative zone, which is also a different thing, though.
Right.
Yeah, it happens in these old comics. They recycle different words and phrases.
Mr. Fantastic also used that later. So it's like, oh.
Yeah.
I just noticed that.
But basically, it creates like a big, impenetrable barrier around the Inhumans, and the Fantastic Four are only able to escape because they use the Invisible Woman's force field powers, which I suppose also just a brief explain of who the Fantastic Four are, even for those that don't know. We've got Mr. Fantastic. He is a stretching hero. He can
a rubbery man,
yeah. He can stretch to stretch his body in any way, turn into a ball, roll up. He can stretch way out, turn into a parachute.
His name is Reed Richards.
Yeah, Reed Richards is his real name. Then we have the Invisible Woman, Sue Storm. She can turn invisible and create invisible force fields. She can also make other things invisible as well. And then we have Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, Sue Storm's brother. He is a young kid, and he can light his whole body on fire without harm and use it as a weapon and fly around. And then the Thing, Ben Grimm, is an orange rocky monster, basically.
Yeah.
The heavy of the team.
Which is interesting because I always imagine him like being much bigger in size, but he's like just a normal sized human being.
Yeah.
Probably heavier.
Yeah, I mean,
more dense.
Yeah, he's probably like just about 6 foot, I'd say, and then, but also probably like, I don't know, 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's really strong too. He can lift up really heavy stuff. Yeah. And so, yeah, basically Sue, the Invisible Woman, she puts a force field around the Fantastic Four that is able to, as the negative zone is going around the city that the Inhumans live in, they are able to escape before it solidifies, and using the barrier of the force field. But Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, is really broken up about this because he has fallen in love with one of the Inhumans named Crystal, and she cannot come with them. So they are separated, and then the barrier solidifies, and they don't really know if they'll be able to get back.
Yeah.
They might just be trapped there. Then we cut to space, and we're introduced to the Silver Surfer. He does not have an alias at this time, but yeah, he is a chrome humanoid who travels through space on a chrome surfboard. Yep. And we see the Skrulls, shape-shifting aliens that readers of Fantastic Four would be familiar with. You know, they're a pretty deadly threat, and they are hiding from the Silver Surfer. They don't want him to know that they have a colony there, because otherwise he might signal Galactus to come. And so then back on Earth, they're flying back home, the Fantastic Four are, and then there's suddenly fire in the sky. And so the Human Torch goes out to check it out, and the people that are panicking in the street think that it's him who has caused the fire in the sky.
I mean, if fire happened in the sky and a dude whose main thing is fire showed up, you'd be like, it's you.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, yeah, so they try to they use a high-pressure fire hose to bring him down, and then start trying to beat him up. But he is holding his own without his fire. But the Thing comes in and rescues him, scares off the mob. Except for one guy who thinks he can take him, but he is not able to, because the Thing is too strong. And then kind of like cut to, we don't really know how much time has passed, but it's enough time for Reed to start growing stubble.
That happens just the next day.
Yeah. It could be. Yeah, it could be.
But at this point, rocks are forming in the sky and trying to figure out what's what.
Yeah.
So Reed is focused on building a machine, and he had the Watcher is helping him to do this. And
yeah.
For those who don't know, the Watcher is a celestial creature, not a celestial, but
yeah, he's part of a race of aliens that have existed for a long time. and they are super smart and powerful, and they have basically set their species mission to watch and observe the universe and record it.
But never to interfere.
Never to interfere, yes. Although, that being said, this watcher, Uta?
That's not Uatu?
Uatu? Yeah, I think you're right. Uatu. I think it's Uatu. Uatu, he is actually the one that created the flames in the sky and the rocks in the sky. It's he's trying to make it appear that the Earth is not what it seems, so that when the Silver Surfer comes, nobody knows.
Yeah, he has a soft spot for humans.
Yeah. He lives on the blue area of the moon, and he observes. Yeah, and the blue area of the moon is a place where, basically, on the moon, there's an atmosphere, and there's also, like, technology. I think the Inhumans lived there first.
Okay, yeah, I was going to ask that. Yeah.
And then the Watcher kind of took it over after they left.
Yeah, the Inhumans settled on Earth, and Uatu settled on the moon. Fair trade.
Yeah. But yeah, then the rocks in the sky don't work. The Silver Surfer comes down to Earth. The Thing punches him off a building. And then the Watcher's like, yeah, it's too late. He sent the signal. Galactus is on his way. And then we see Galactus in his, he's red and green, when normally he's purple, and from here on he will be purple and red.
Oh, that's interesting. I totally forgot.
Yeah.
And he's also like, I mean, he's giant. Like, Uatu and Galactus are like giants, but they're not like the giant.
Yeah. They say, the Watcher says that Galactus can basically present how he wants. So he can be the size of a man. He can be the size of a giant man. He can be the size of a building. It doesn't really matter. So yeah, then on to the second issue 49. And yeah, same. Oh wait, the other one was Artie Simek was on the first one, and this is lettered by S. Rosen. I think that's so. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that was the colorist, or maybe it was a different letterer. These comics were not well attributed. It was in Stan Lee's...
as long as Stan Lee's there.
Yeah. He liked to make up rhymes and little things in the credits, so it was not always clear who did what. But yeah, Galactus has landed on Earth, and the Thing tries to stop him, but Galactus puts down a little smoke bomb, basically, that's like, it's basically like insect repellent, like...
Because he's like, you guys are insects.
Yeah. Like, he doesn't even regard them. He just talks to the Watcher. He's like, yeah, whatever. And it hurts the Thing, this little smoke bomb. It's like, I can't remember what he said.
Oh, it's like mustard gas kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like my eyes and my nose.
Yeah.
He takes out the Human Torch, douses him.
Yeah.
And then Uatu's like, you guys leave.
Yeah. Yeah, and then they kind of try to like make a plan. Meanwhile, the Silver Surfer got knocked all the way across town by the Thing, and just by pure chance lands at the skylight window of Alicia Masters, who is the girlfriend of Ben Grimm, and she is a award-winning blind sculptor. And so basically he like kind of he just like comes in through the window, and she's like, oh, there's somebody that needs help. He's like groaning, you know. So she like, you know, talks to him and prepares him some food.
Yeah.
And then we go back to the Baxter building, which is the home of the Fantastic Four.
Just so happened where Galactus ended up.
Yeah. It's because that's where the Silver Surfer landed, you know, and put his signal. And then Galactus is building a giant machine on top of the building that he'll use to drain the oceans and basically destroy the Earth, converting everything into just energy, ending with the molten core at the center. And basically they're not the Fantastic Four is not sure what to do, but the Watcher says that there's one machine that can save the human race, but basically it'll be up to the Human Torch to reach it because it is very far away, and it'll be him that needs to get it for the plan to work. Back at Alicia Masters' house, basically Alicia is begging the Surfer to understand humanity and, like, you know, spare humans, understand that they have individual emotions, and, you know, that he can, like, basically connect with them. Galactus, he turns on his machine, though, and then it doesn't work. And it's the Thing. He has started to destroy the machine. He's like, oh, well, I'm just going to make it again. It doesn't really matter.
But then he sends the Punisher.
Yeah, the Punisher. Not the gun-wielding ex-military Punisher, vigilante, but
the one that is a mech frog.
He's a little tiny guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the Human Torch wants to go help his friends, but the Watcher says that he has to go and travel. He's going to use this machine to send him through space-time, basically, to the far reach.
Specifically to the planet that Galactus is from.
Yeah. And so he sends him out, and he has to, like, traverse things like the unlife and just, like, stars and dimensions and stuff, until he gets to this big metal planet, you know, that's like a weird little figure 8 shape. Or maybe that's just is that a ship outside the planet? I can't really tell, actually.
Yeah, same. I can't tell either.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, yeah, the Fantastic Four is fighting the tiny little Punisher mech. And it's basically like it's assessing their ability as they fight, you know. He's getting more and more tough to fight as they fight him, speeding up his punches, stuff like that, until, like, you know, the Thing can't really take him, and Reed has to restrain the machine so that the Thing can get away. And basically they hide behind one of Sue's force fields until basically it seems like, oh, okay, they're done. They're going to stop fighting. So he sends the robot back. And then we have Alicia and the Silver Surfer, and she's actually finally made him realize that humanity should be spared, that it's not right to consume a planet with sentient living beings on it.
Yeah. He has finally found something worth protecting.
He says he gained a conscience.
Yeah. And then, so now he is the Silver Surfer, that is, in issue 50. He is rebelling against his master, as he calls him. And, you know, they're fighting. They don't really want to hurt each other. They actually have a pretty, like, you know,
like
strong relationship.
Yeah.
Basically the Silver Surfer encases Galactus in solid energy. Thing tries to touch it, and it's all like, nope, that hurt. That was bad.
I was pretty... So, after that, Galactus breaks out. And I was pretty sure it was because of Ben.
I don't know if that's... It could have been, but it's unclear.
I don't think so.
So yeah, Galactus breaks out. The Surfer and Galactus keep fighting. And yeah, then the Watcher is like, I hope that, the Human Torch is doing good. He has to traverse back through, the strange things in the outer reaches of the universe. And it's the Watcher who's mentally guiding him until finally he makes it back through a different plane, a dimensional portal kind of, and then he's on the roof of the Baxter building. But he's like really like kind of in shock from what he's seen, the crazy, cosmic things. There's a particular panel that's somewhat famous where he just goes, "We're like ants, just like ants."
Yeah.
Everybody keeps referring to humans as ants. Like even Galactus is like, why does it matter if I step on an anthill? And I'm like, how do you know?
Yeah.
Ugh. I've stepped on an anthill before. Not fun.
Yeah.
Yes. It's never fun.
So yeah, and then they get the device that Johnny had picked up and, basically interrupt the battle between Galactus and Silver Surfer. Mr. Fantastic does. And it's the ultimate nullifier. Basically a tiny handheld device that could wipe out the entire galaxy, it seems.
And it's a handheld device for humans, which is really confusing to me.
Yeah. I mean, perhaps, Galactus normally is in his human-sized. Maybe. I don't know. But basically, he promises that he'll leave and go somewhere else as long as he gets the ultimate nullifier back. And the Watcher assures that he won't go back on his word, that his word is bound or whatever. And so he basically turns into a form that's like basically pure energy and disappears, but not before basically telling, or I don't know, science cursing the Silver Surfer from not being able to go across space and time. So he is basically stuck on Earth. And then after all of that, Alicia comes up to the top of the building and she's all worried. And Ben is really excited to see her and is like, oh, you didn't have to worry about me. But she's actually concerned about the Silver Surfer. And then Ben is not jealous, but he's like, oh, okay, she's forgotten about me.
I get it.
He is jealous.
Yeah,
right?
he is jealous. Yeah, he's just not
He's envious and immediately leaves, which actually, considering how his way of acting out usually.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it's not like an aggressive kind of jealousy. It's more of a wallowing, self-pity kind of jealousy. And so then Alicia, because she's blind, she's like, well, where is everybody else and where's Ben? I want to see him.
Yep.
I love and care about him. But yeah, so
he's already gone.
He's already gone, and the Surfer goes to the skies because that's the most like being in space.
He has wanderlust, as always.
Yeah. And then we get
like a bit of an epilogue. Right?
Yeah, an epilogue, a preview of the next villain that is coming. And then we see the college a college. What is it? Metro something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Metro College. That's it.
Yep.
And there's a football player who's a jerk and, just is really arrogant. And the coach is like having trouble like keeping him, in line because he's the star quarterback and the team won't do anything if he's not there.
They have no chance of winning.
They have no chance of winning, yeah. And so, and he's really concerned about his own reputation as a coach. Yeah, and then meanwhile, the Thing is like feeling really sorry for himself still. He scares a woman just by like turning the corner and being himself.
Mm-hmm.
And then Johnny rolls up onto campus at the Metro College that we were just at, and he is registering for classes. I guess he is all healed up from his shock of traveling the cosmos. We didn't really get any in-between time with him.
Well, it's been at least a day.
Yeah, it's been at least a day. And he's looking for the dean, and he runs into another student who's also new and looking for the dean, named Wyatt Wingfoot. And then the dean finds him, both of them, and asks to speak privately in his office. But Johnny kind of spaces out and thinks about, space where he was, and thinks about Crystal trapped inside the dome, and we see trapped inside the dome the Inhumans, and Crystal feels the same way. She desperately wants to get out and see Johnny, and then he realizes that he hasn't been paying attention to what the dean has been saying, but the dean is all like, well, you guys should room together at this dorm and you're good now, but try to pay more attention next time. Yeah, and then we go on to issue 51, titled This Man, This Monster. And yeah, so this one focuses a lot on the Thing. He is still very sad. He's roaming the streets. It's raining. And somebody invites him in to have coffee. I think it's a diner, but no, actually it's a house. That's kind of confusing, but it's his house. And so he's like, yeah, I'll have some coffee. But he's drugged to the Thing. He gets very sleepy and agrees to take a nap on his couch. And this man, he uses a machine called the Duplicator, and he attaches it to the Thing and attaches it to himself, and basically puts the appearance of the Thing on himself and the powers. Yeah. And
it's not really a duplicator, because it literally sucks the powers out of Ben and gives them to this guy.
Yeah. And it makes Ben human.
Yeah.
And then back at the Baxter building, Reed is super concerned, really deep in his work, because he wants to create more machines and things that can thwart threats like Galactus and the Silver Surfer. And then it's the Imposter as Ben. He's taken a couple days to try to basically take on Ben's mannerisms, his speaking habits, so he can fully pose as Ben. And so he walks in, and he basically is getting used to things, but Reed is like, oh yeah, great, you shouldn't have been gone for days, but also I need your help, so come and help me. But then the real Ben Grimm comes through and is all like, hey, this guy's pretending to be me. And the Imposter's all like, yeah, so says you. I'm me.
Yep.
Who do you think they're gonna believe? And
they both have the talking down to a certain extent.
Yeah. And so, yeah, basically they don't believe him. They're all like, wow, you really do look like Ben Grimm, but sorry.
You're not,
Yeah.
you're not a rock.
Yeah, you're not.
We know it's not reversible.
Yeah.
So.
So they send him off, and then Reed is all like, well, I really need your help. I trust you with my life, I'm about to do a space-time traveling experiment because, like, the only people we've met that can do that is, like, Galactus and the Watcher, and humanity needs to be able to travel faster than the speed of light. So he has created this machine that you can walk into, basically, and travel space and time. But he is attaching a super strength cable to him and asking the thing to hold on to it, and when he tugs on it, to pull him back, because otherwise he might be in danger. And then back at college, the Human Torch is having some food with Wyatt Wingfoot, and there's the arrogant football player. And basically everybody's all like, oh, do you think you'll have some competition with the Human Torch? He's like, I don't care about that guy. It's like, oh, he's right behind you in the other booth.
What do you do now?
Yeah, what do you do now? Yeah. And so he's like, yeah, basically it's all like...
First he starts a fight and, like, pours water on him and just...
Yeah, because the Human Torch is like, I don't care about you, buddy. Like, just go away. And he starts a fight, and then... Wyatt gets involved, but then I think it's the
coach.
It's the coach. It's the coach. Yeah. He gets in between them and is all like, "Stop fighting." And then he's all like, "Oh, hey," to Wyatt, "You're really big and strong. You should be on the football team." And,
not just that, but he's also... Yeah,
he's also the son of Will Wingfoot, the decathlon champion, Olympic champion. And Wyatt says that he is not interested in athletics at all and will not discuss it, and leaves. But the coach has his heart set on it. He thinks that this will be what he needs for his team, and so he can finally, like, retire with something to his
dignity.
Name. Yeah, dignity. And then Reed goes into his machine, and he's basically kind of, it's very similar to, like, the journey that Johnny went on last issue. He sees some amazing things, and then suddenly he's heading towards a version of Earth that is currently being destroyed. And so he pulls on the cable, but the imposter thing, this whole plan is because he has been jealous of Reed Richards and, thinks that, like, he could do so much more if he was in Reed's position, or if his competition, if he was out of the way, then people would see, like, the amazing things he could do. And so... he
blames him for all his failures in life.
Yeah. And so then, it's time to pull Reed back, but he's considering, because now he's seen that Reed is actually, like, really benevolent. He cares about, like, the human race, and it's not about the money or the publicity.
He's not telling anybody he's doing this experiment that's super dangerous.
Yeah. It's just for the betterment of mankind. But he also can't quite decide fast enough because, like, this has been his plan. It's the perfect time. And then the cable snaps. But he decides to run after the cable and grab it, and it pulls him through the machine. And then now they are stuck together. And they're basically, Reed's like, wow, now we're both going to die. This sucks.
You shouldn't have come in after me. Yeah. You're my best friend.
But the imposter thing throws Reed all the way back towards the machine and basically consigns himself to death. You know, he just sits down on the little asteroid that they were on, hurtling towards the currently being destroyed Earth. And then Ben Grimm, the real Ben Grimm, is about to confront Alicia as a normal human. Well, I mean, a normal-bodied human.
Yeah.
When suddenly, you know, that's the exact moment that the imposter has died, and so the energy is transferred, the power is transferred back to him, and he reverts back to his thing form. And he runs away, unable to face Alicia now. And Reed goes back through the entrance of the machine, and both him and Sue are so sad that Ben is gone. But he appears through the door, realizes that they're mourning him, you know, is like, you know, you didn't have to worry about me.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, I guess we were wrong.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was it. That was the end.
That's so funny, because, like, the guy clearly uses a few words that Ben would never know.
Mm-hmm.
And Reed is like, nothing wrong here,
Yeah.
my eloquent friend.
Yeah.
Why did you choose this book for the Western classics theme?
So, to be fair, I had a little bit of trouble because, of course, I don't super focus on Western comics, I guess. Not intentionally.
Yeah.
I just...
You get your fill from this show, and our three other hosts pick something.
I'm like, superheroes. I've seen it all. I saw someone talking about Kirby's big multimedia pages, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wait, they have that? Like, you telling me not just pen and ink, pen and ink, pen and ink?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I want to see those. I want to see them in context.
Yeah.
And one of them I think was from Thor, and one of them was from this. And I was like, I don't know what this is. Looked it up. It's like super famous.
So you kind of worked backwards. Okay, I gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's how most of like recommendations work online, right? Somebody posts some funny panel or some cool art.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, what the heck is this? I gotta see this.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that. Well, cool.
It's really funny that it worked out that way, though.
Yeah, it is. And yeah, you're absolutely right too that the other one that's kind of famous is from Thor. That was the living planet Ego.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty cool image also.
I want to see that.
So that mixed media panel, is that what this is? Like when Galactus shows up, there's like, to me, what looks like actual photos like
Yes.
put on there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. Yeah.
And I don't think they would have done that computer-wise, really.
No, yeah. This was like probably 65 or something, 1965. Yeah, it was definitely not done digitally. It was taking an X-Acto knife out and cutting, images that he had and then pasting them on the page and then, photocopy. Well, not photocopy per se, but, the printing methods they had.
That's crazy to me because it's like, you kind of see that in animation, like old style animation, and they actually do that in the comics too.
Yeah, well, Kirby was he was an in-betweener on Popeye cartoons at first before he worked at Marvel. Yeah, so that's where he he was pumping out like 5-6 series in a month, and it's like, well, that's because he had to draw Popeye like thousands of times over and over again. He got really fast at drawing.
Wow.
And drawing precisely. But yeah, so that is some really cool art though, really cool methods of like multimedia. And I feel like I was going to say something else about it too, but totally kind of blank.
I will say I also always found Silver Surfer to be an interesting character that I don't understand. So it was a great chance to find out, the origins.
Yeah.
I definitely had some different expectations than what was in here.
Yeah. And I know, like, a lot of the works of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, there was oftentimes a difference in perspective of stories because, like, the quote-unquote Marvel method is, basically Stan would come up with a plot synopsis, and then Jack would draw the story, and then Stan would come back and write the dialogue based on the panels. So oftentimes Jack would have a different idea of how the story goes down than what the dialogue actually says. And I know that they had some disagreements about, like, what Galactus was supposed to represent and, like, the characterization of the Silver Surfer. That's, without, like, rereading some of the, like, research that's been done, that's the most I can kind of give. But yeah, I remember reading about that, and that was pretty interesting. Same thing happened with Adam Warlock, a different cosmic character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, I like the Silver Surfer too, and I like, seeing him flying through space. Like, that's some, like, great Jack Kirby art also. So was there any expectations going into this book for any of us?
Well, I mean, I've seen so many Fantastic Four movies and I feel like so much Fantastic Four stuff always deals with this guy coming to Earth.
Yeah,
I mean, then the Silver Surfer too. Or maybe I'm just, like, remembering the single one I watched.
Yeah, I think it's the second one from the 2000s.
It's the only Fantastic Four story there is, according to me.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, it is one of the most famous, most popular ones, so it's fair. It's very much like, the first Spider-Man movie took on, like, the Green Goblin. It's like, yeah, that's, like, kind of the big one, They're not going to start with, like, Mole Man or something. It's Galactus and it's Doctor Doom, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think my expectation was, like, I don't know anything. Well, aside from seeing the movies growing up, I didn't really read Fantastic Four. Mm-hmm. And so the only other exposure to Fantastic Four was when we read Ultimate Fantastic Four. And so I was kind of expecting, like, this is the true, like, original intent. Like, when people say this is the first family, like, this is what they mean, kind of thing.
The first family?
Yeah. It's
Marvel's first family is how...
Yeah, because, like, that's what people started to really appreciate about the Fantastic Four, because a lot of people still will say that it's like, oh, well, it's just like a reskin of the Challengers of the Unknown that Kirby did for DC, like a few years back before this. But the thing is that they're not just a superhero team like, the Avengers or the Justice Society. They actually, like, they're a found family, They
sometimes a family is a mother, a father, a brother, and an uncle.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And eventually Reed and Sue will have children too. And
yeah, of course.
That's a good analogy.
I mean, one of my favorite comics I read before I read a lot of superhero comics. It's that one I always talk about. Like, I think it's called Unstable Molecules.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. That was
I mean, and that's Fantastic Four, but without the powers, really.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
So I guess I'm always looking for that whenever I go into Fantastic Four stuff.
Mm.
Okay.
But I should elaborate on what I meant by, like, from the movie. I always remember the Silver Surfer coming in and being, like, the last minute thing that saves them from Galacticus.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so being introduced to it, I'm like, oh, it's him. He's here already. Huh. Oh, wait, he's evil? I mean, not evil. Even the Watcher is like, these guys are, like, above good and evil. They just do what they're meant to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even eventually Reed will kind of take on that position where it's all like, I mean, technically he's just like, you know, it's basically part of the balance of the ecosystem of the universe, you know, like Galactus. Like, that's not in these comics. It's just like a position that he'll take up later on as he learns more about Galactus. That's like, he does have to exist, otherwise the universe will kind of go out of balance. But yeah, as far as the Silver Surfer, though, yeah, he is definitely like starts out as like just very cold, you know. Which I feel like in the movie version he was kind of that way, but maybe it took, you know, it was a little bit faster. Maybe it's been a long time since I've watched that movie, though.
Yeah, I think he was a little bit like it was easier for him to kind of make that switch. It wasn't as it wasn't like, it was very matter of fact. You know, it's like, this is just what it is in the movie. But he was a little bit more like, nah, like, you guys are nothing. Like, I'm going to turn this like food into energy. Like,
yeah.
That's all it is. And so
you guys are being so silly and illogical.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Actually, I think he says illogical in that movie.
Yeah, probably.
That's
I mean,
right.
it still is like one conversation with Alicia, but that's a comic. You know, it's got to do an issue.
Yeah. I will say, I was like, is this the only, or I guess maybe the original, like, Galactus coming to Earth? Because, like, I find it interesting that this story was so big that they would make an entire movie on it.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it was like, I mean, Fantastic Four was Marvel's best-selling comic of the time, and yeah, it was like it was the biggest thing they had ever done too, you know, like before is like, you know, like they'd had multi-issue stories before, but this was like, oh wow, they are facing a guy that is basically God, like, and not like Thor God, but like he has like really unimaginable powers, you know, like, can do things. Like, how are they going to stop him from destroying the entire Earth, you know? So yeah, it definitely made a big impact, you know, and between the things that we've mentioned, the multimedia pages, the like kind of like conceptual elements of the story, the Silver Surfer becoming popular, you know, stuff like that. It was like, you know, they still dealt with a lot more like terrestrial threats, even like if it was like aliens, it wasn't so like high concept. I guess, you know, Galactus isn't just an alien, but he's like a force of nature, I guess.
Okay.
So
He's just so strong.
Yeah. And yeah, I think that it's in some ways like a little bit of like a turning point, I would say. Like, I mean, granted, it's like it's also a string of what, you know, would be considered like very famous issues, you know, like introducing Galactus and the Silver Surfer, and then having this monster, which, you know, we also need to discuss a little bit more, but, you know, that was a big impact issue emotionally for audiences. And then right after that, the introduction of Black Panther, you know, it's like,
oh, that was the introduction. Okay.
Yeah,
I almost had us read more, but I was like, because I went ahead and I saw like Black Panther.
Yeah.
What are you doing here?
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so, you know, a big set of issues, you know, really continuing to draw readers in, you know, more and more.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think just to like go in with my expectations too, I've really started to appreciate like more Kirby work as far as art and more like, you know, Silver Age comic work in general. That being said, I do feel like I'm pretty sure that these pages have been like digitally like retouched and stuff. not that like, there's definitely worse examples where it's like, oh, you ruined the art. But I feel like this would have looked better on like, the newsprint it was supposed to be without like any change to like coloring or anything like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that I think that because I'd seen examples online where I was like, yeah, that looks good. I was like, this doesn't look as good. I want to see this in print and like good. There's actually, I think these issues, probably minus this monster, the Nolwein Library has a giant version of it. Like it's, I don't know, probably like 3 feet tall.
Dang.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can really look at the art up close. And that was pretty cool to look at. It's probably still a little bit retouched. It's definitely on glossy paper. But yeah.
Is that in like the reference section?
No, it's in the comics section. You just can't check it out though.
Okay.
Yeah. You just have to look at it there. But yeah, that was cool. Yeah. So, yeah, just a quick from everybody. Did we like this?
I think it was kind of mid.
Kind of mid.
Yeah, I think like it was good, but I was not as like drawn to it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that for me, I did like it, but yeah, it was like if I had to read much more, I would get kind of like a little bit drained from it, It was just the right amount of issues where I was like, okay, yeah.
I'm glad it was 3. We usually do like 6 or more.
Yeah, these ones are dense.
Can you imagine them dragging that out for 6 issues?
I definitely can. In fact, I was thinking about it. I was like, gosh, if this was like at the peak of like expanded narrative, drawing things out, this could be like 12 issues, a whole year of like Galactus is coming. Galactus is coming.
Yes.
We're going to do a whole
day, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to have a whole issue that's dedicated to Alicia and Silver Surfer talking.
He leaves. She has to drag him back.
Yeah.
And convince him all over again.
Was it? We'll have a pre-event event.
Yeah, the road
all the
to
foreshadowing.
Yeah, the road to Galactus, something like that. Yeah, totally. So yeah, you could really expand this out. I wouldn't want that. But good. Cool. I'm sorry, Shuanta, did you say if you liked it? Oh.
No, I didn't get a chance to. I dense, obviously. But I was just going to say that I really liked it because I guess my expectations for like old comics are always kind of like, this is going to be long and boring and cliche. I don't know. I've read some bad old comics.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But I found some of the struggle interesting. I really liked the extra issue we read afterwards, of course.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just interesting to see these characters in their original, like, showing. There's, of course, it wasn't perfect. Some of the parts that were not perfect definitely dragged it down a little. And, I mean, you could argue that how much does the Fantastic Four do outside of being helped? But I got a good sense of their personalities, even if they, in the end, just were kind of like helped along to the solution. I liked the Silver Surfer stepping in. I knew he was going to fight his master at some point, but I also didn't know that he wasn't going to be like the winning blow. I thought he was going to step in as they were like winning and like finishing move.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know enough. I didn't know that they would just convince him to leave.
Yeah.
It is a little silly, this Reed Richards holding up the ultimate nullifier or whatever.
Yeah.
And it just like Galactus being like, put that away. It's like when I read that, I laughed. It's like it's the same as a child holding up like Skibbity Toilet to me on their phone. I'm like, stop that, stop it.
Yeah.
What did he say? I think he said something like you gave a match to an ant that lives in a tinder box.
No, to a child.
To a child.
To a child that lives in a tinder box.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I think, that's not the last time that Reed will do something like that,
Yeah.
I think even in one comic in the 80s where they actually, I can't remember what it is, but they are on Galactus's ship. And then he actually bluffs to Galactus. He's all like, nah, I have the ultimate nullifier. He's like, no, you don't. He's like, do you want to find out? And he's like...
Wait, so is the ultimate nullifier, is that like a gag where it's like, we don't actually know what it does?
Well, I mean, we know that it's basically like, I think it's a kind of a stand-in for like an atom bomb, right? But on a like cosmic scale, it just destroys everything. It's like a cosmic
nullifies everything.
Yeah. Probably like if they had to put in a reasoning, it's probably like antimatter. Just destroys all of the positive matter in the world. And
I gotcha. I kind of like the idea that it's never been used and everyone just says it's like really powerful, but no one has seen.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of don't want to find out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fair.
Mm-hmm. But no, the ultimate nullifier is kind of a little silly, but it's fun too. All right, so what did we think of the story of these comics?
I
said my part, right?
Yeah, I think a little bit.
I can elaborate.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say that I think that, like you said, some of the old-timiness of, like, the way that it was common to write and produce comics at the time, superhero comics in particular, drag it down a little bit. The fast cutting between like multiple scenes, when I was giving the review, it was like, okay, now we're here and now we're here and now we're here and now we're back to that first place, just getting little snapshots as it's happening. And it's like, it would be cinematic almost except for it's not cinema. So it's like, we can't keep cutting to these things happening simultaneously. Like, it's kind of like disconcerting that we're at so many new locations so fast, like per page. But otherwise, I think that I think some of the emotions that the characters, displayed between like Johnny's like heartbreak, and his like shock after like traveling through space and time, Ben's like, feeling of like betrayal and like self-pity and stuff like that. Those all came through really great.
Yeah, I was going to agree with that. Pretty much, I don't know, I guess I always expect them to be more melodramatic, like crying and sobbing for like 3 panels. With some of the older comics especially, they're like, we need to get this idea across. So I enjoyed how they like, even Johnny, he's banging on the wall, but he holds on to the fact that he's banging on the wall to try to get to Crystal. But Ben is like, who knows? Maybe we'll find a way through. And he's like, he's upset, but he holds on to that hope. And he's like, I'm a big kid, stop it. Like, I understand I'm being dramatic right now. I'll stop, but I am upset. To the point where he's thinking about it later, even.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that it also, you just reminded me in terms of like thinking about it later, I think it's something that we take for granted in ongoing comics now, but for a lot of ongoing comics at the time, it was the serialized kind of non-continuous. You just like read one issue and that's one adventure and you can read any of them in any order, But these have the, it's not the first to do it, but it is not traditional at this time to have an ongoing story between issues and have people mention like the things that they're still going through from like 3 issues ago, be like, oh yeah, that's right, he still cares about Crystal. That wasn't just one adventure, and now he's forgotten about her.
Yes.
It balances like self-contained with a continuation in not too bad of a way.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't know, maybe if we read a bunch more we would be like, they need to stop.
Stop bringing it up.
Yeah. I think that, like, yeah, I generally like stuff.
Stop repeating this. I get reminded every 3 issues.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that generally, like, for older comics, I do like it when they, like, find, like, a nice, like, 2-issue story arc kind of pace where it's, like, yeah, balancing that, like, self-containedness, but, like, having the room to, like, breathe stuff. But, yeah. And sometimes they'll break it up with like a contained issue and then start a new story arc that kind of is a little bit longer. Yeah.
Wonder what the sales were like with that one.
Oh, with this one that we read?
With the that contained issue before they go to the next one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm sure that people still liked, being able to just be like, oh yeah, this is a good issue, and I don't have to spend my weekly or my monthly allowance, on the next issue, to know what happens. It's like, I just get this one.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so. There's like individual elements that I really enjoyed. I think I enjoyed the character dynamics between Reed, Sue, and Ben and Johnny. I think that's what I liked about the story.
Yeah.
Yeah. I liked Ben having that like part of his character. I'm stuck like this, and woe is me kind of thing. I really like Reed kind of being like really a big jerk.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this a lot of the early 60s characterization for Reed is where a lot of Reed hate comes from.
Yeah. I think at the same time it's like it'd be really hard to do that guy now. So it'd be like, as much as you can enjoy it.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah.
But, and yeah, that's it.
Okay. That's cool. And yeah, so then now the art, I think is, I think that, I talked about it a little bit earlier too, but, Jack Kirby, he's really good. He draws cool, craggly monsters really good. He has like dramatic, shading and shadowing. He does weird machines really good. And this comic has them. Yeah. It's like, yeah, it's definitely one of those things.
With that other scientist.
The imposter one.
Yeah, I couldn't remember his name.
Yeah.
I don't think he was given a name.
Was he? Well, okay. So anyway, the fact that he looked the same, I was like, is this gonna mean something? Like, is he related to them somehow? And then he just like acknowledged that he looked like the Thing.
Yeah.
So that was kind of funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it was intentional.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's just how dudes look when they're.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the what they're probably trying to get at in that part of the story is that, like, the scientist is envious of Reed, and feels like he's to blame for all of his problems. And in some way, the Thing is the same. He's not as mad at Reed for his problems, but he, like,
Very self-wallowing.
Yeah, and it is because of Reed that he is the Thing today. So it's like, ultimately he doesn't he isn't accepting of like his current position and trying to live his life moving forward with how he is and what he is. He's only looking back at what he's lost.
Yeah.
And so, I think that having visual similarity between him and the scientist is to put more of a point on that of like, they're kind of like, the same. This is the thing if he went bad,
Yeah.
Like, they obviously have different upbringings though, but
Yeah, I think the art was good. I really enjoyed it. And particularly there was like, wow, that's what I imagine like 1960s like hairstyle and facial structure to look like. I was like, you did that really well.
Yeah, a lot of people like Alicia, but there was another one who had that like kind of like not quite a bob, but like it like curled in short hairstyle.
Yeah.
I noticed. I was like, yeah, that seems right. I will say I think that later designs on the Silver Surfer I like a little bit more. I mean, I don't know. He's just like. Maybe this makes it better, but he's so menacing here, like his eyes are like, just like they're defined, I feel like in the movie, it was almost like, like liquid metal was just like over top a human body,
Yeah.
And in this, it's like, nah, he has like no eyelids basically. And then like his eyes though are like also metal, but they're just like defined, and it's like
it's definitely creepy. He's it's not the right word, but like having no defined eyes for the like live action adaptions definitely make him look more serene or neutral, I guess.
And I feel like part of like the like having that like lack of humanity is like not being able to like see into his eyes, but like still like mimicking them. I don't know.
Yeah, and there's not really malice.
Yeah, no. I would say that there isn't any malice.
But he does look creepy.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, also another Kirbyism is headgear. Great headgear on Galactus. Never needs any new design. Like, that's good. It's so good.
What do you think about Black Bolt's headgear?
I liked that too, actually. I wasn't sure why he was wearing
his crown,
that.
right?
Yeah, I think it was a crown. Yeah. I was like, yes, that looks good. I also really like the Thing's expressions, actually, too.
Oh, yeah.
He oftentimes like the big brow ridge, and then like the using like the size of his eyes sometimes like to really get different emotions across.
I don't like the Punisher's design.
No, that's not a winner, and we never see him again, I'm pretty sure.
He's like the little brother that's annoying.
Yeah. Also, this is not an art thing. Sorry, I'm going backwards a little bit, but it is kind of weird and different. I mean, I mentioned it a little bit in the summary, but the concluding issue to the Galactus saga, and then also it's just Johnny's first day at college too. I feel like maybe they ran out of steam. Like they were like, oh, okay, we couldn't fit this into 44 pages, 2 issues, but we can't quite stretch it to the full size of 3 issues.
I don't know. They got to have some sort of cliffhanger, right? Something to get you to keep reading.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know if Johnny going to college is the exact right one, but it worked on me. I was like, I want to read more.
Yeah.
Well, they were like, excuses if this seems like we're rambling a little bit. And so I was just like, they're trying to squeeze in a little bit. It's like,
Yeah, I guess that's true.
It was really funny to have like the finale of this major arc for the cover, and then be also like, and get to see Johnny go to college.
Yeah. And I guess I suppose it is like only like 3 pages, so I don't know. It felt like it was longer though, you know. But yeah. Okay, cool.
Ooh, I did want to add the final panel of issue 51. That was a fun one because it's just so Ben comes back and he's in his now transformed form, rock form.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh my gosh, you're alive!" Him or Sue and Reed, and so they go to hug him, and it's just you see Reed smile, and it's like, wow, it's like what a ham.
What do you mean?
Oh, it's not the final panel. It's one of the.
No, I see that one.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know what you meant.
I don't know. It's just like it fills me with the warm fuzzies.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. I see that. Yeah. Yeah, that is a good panel of like emotion, like I think that even after hearing their words, Ben is a little bit like shocked by how much they care about him, and like, yeah, you can see like how relieved Sue is and just how happy Reed is. Good show of emotion. Okay, so on to our questioning our theme segment. Starting off with so our theme was Western Comics Classics, and just as like, I guess maybe this would have been better at the very beginning, but just to be very clear, this is comics from the quote-unquote Western world, Europe and the Americas, and ones that are considered classics. So our first question, would you consider this to be a classic? Did it live up to that theme? I haven't fully read this, so I think this is all of our first time reading this story.
Yeah. I kind of think of classic as something that kind of stands the test of time. And I guess really what I mean by that is like, is there do future generations like reference it, future iterations? And given the fact that like we had a movie like, I don't know, 15 years ago, something like that.
And I still remember it somehow.
Yeah. Like, to me, I was like, okay, that's pretty significant. So, yeah, I would consider that a classic.
I mean, society definitely considers it a classic, right?
Yeah, I think that
We can agree that.
Yeah.
But
I
at the
think
same time,
as
it's
far
like,
as
oh,
sorry, I think as far as Fantastic Four, it makes sense as a classic for them. Like, it really shows off them dealing with unbeatable odds, their character dynamics, like you were talking about, Talon. And it's a bit of a showstopper, or attempt at it, at least.
Yeah, I think that it definitely, in terms of like standing the test of time, I think that it's definitely like, the peak of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby's like shared career, like, I mean, yeah, I put them together, because I think that Jack Kirby still reaches like high highs on his own, later on. But in terms of, and I think that it does, like, it still has a significant impact on, like, future people, like, I think that there's a higher degree of accessibility than there ever was to old comics. They're getting more and more reprints, and more digital access. Yeah, in some ways, though, I am like, I can see this, like, I don't know. I think that it'll be, like, continued to be referenced, but because of the nature of superhero comics, it is, like, I almost wonder if, like, other versions that were referencing this will start to be referenced instead.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because they're constantly trying to one-up each other in superhero comics, right?
Yeah.
Just the retconning sometimes happens where it's like, you thought that was crazy. It wasn't even 1/3 of my power.
Right. Yeah. So, but yeah, I think that in terms of like just the like historical, milestone of like the genre, and like I won't go as far as the medium. I think that Jack Kirby's art in general is like a milestone for the medium, but the book itself, the story arc, is really more of a classic to the genre, which still counts, but just separating those two ideas,
Of Jack Kirby's art.
No, separating the ideas of a classic in the medium versus a classic in the superhero genre.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a classic in the genre.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which, for me is like, that's not like, it's a little bit splitting hairs, but I think it's still an important distinction,
Yeah.
You're like, hold on, comic, before you get too big of a head.
Yeah. Yeah.
Impressive for a superhero comic.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, especially like, we have to like take in historical considerations too, of the fact that like this was working within the confines of the Comics Code Authority and stuff, and so it's like that's a big reason for why a lot of Silver Age comics, are kind of dragged down a lot. Is it's like, well, they were writing within a set of rules, they couldn't do every.
Can't mention this. Can't show that.
Mm-hmm.
Stay on your best behavior.
Mm-hmm. Good always has to triumph evil.
Mm-hmm.
All that stuff. So that's just a consideration, I think. But generally, I think that for me, it constitutes a classic, and I hope that people continue to return to it. I think that honestly, I think more people will return to This Man, This Monster than Galactus, though.
Interesting. Why do you say that?
I think I say that because I think that it has more character impact, whereas Galactus has more of a like continuity impact.
Mm-hmm. Fair. Yeah.
I think that is just going to always resonate a little bit more than a character impact is always.
So how has the Man, This Monster, how has that been more recently?
Okay, I don't know if you could say that like textually it has been like, I mean, it has actually, but I think that it's more of like, it's less of like a very like apparent like, hey, we're referencing this, we're pointing to it, and more of like it did a really good job of showcasing Ben, his psychology. Okay. In a way that like, it's like you can point to that and be all like, that's who this character is. If you're going to write him,
I gotcha.
That's how he is.
I gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It's kind of like I would equate it, in terms of like time period to Spider-Man's If This Be My Destiny.
I don't know that one.
It's the end of Steve Ditko's run, I believe, on art, where basically it's kind of like a very end capstone to Spider-Man in general, like, and basically he's Aunt May is sick in the hospital, but he has the cure, but he's faced Doc Ock, I believe, and he's collapsed the entire complex down around him, and water is spilling in.
Oh, yeah.
And
Oof.
yeah, and so
Hey, I want to read it.
yeah, sorry, okay, I won't spoil it too much. But
That's the issue with him, like actually lifting up the. Yeah.
And basically, so he's like, kind of prepared to like this is the end.
I get you. Yeah.
But it showcases who Spider-Man is, what's important to him. I think, it's kind of like almost issues that are like more important than an origin issue, because it's like, this is after they've had like multiple trials and tribulations, but like, you get to see like in what ways they've grown and what ways they haven't.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I didn't think about it, but I will probably remember this monster more than the others.
Yeah.
And the fact that I chose that extra issue just because I was like, I want to see that splash page.
Yeah.
Which splash page was that?
It wasn't a splash page. It was the multimedia art page that, as Reed goes into the machine and the dimensional stuff.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I got emotional at the ending.
Yeah.
Yep.
Got to see, it basically gets to like, kind of have its cake and eat it too, of like, Ben, because the imposter guy, basically he fully takes on the qualities of Ben, becomes a hero, and he gets to make the ultimate sacrifice without sacrificing Ben, Yeah, and I think that's like, kind of going back to what I said earlier of like, the reader had to understand that he is basically Ben,
Yeah.
And so you can have that like emotional like catharsis of like, given the stakes, Ben would absolutely sacrifice his for any of his teammates, but especially Reed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So next question, is there anything off-putting in this work that's like, in terms of like today's standards and sensibilities?
I think the biggest one is how they treat Sue.
Yes.
And
I was gonna say Sue.
Yeah.
It's just like,
I forgot that she's the Invisible Woman, literally, because she doesn't ever do it.
That's true. That's true. I wasn't even thinking about it that way, but she hardly uses her powers.
Yeah, she uses her
she's
force
just
fields.
The force field.
Yeah. But I was
They're like, Sue, stop being so dramatic.
Yeah, and she's like, obviously seen as like, being in the wrong when she's all like, well, Reed, you haven't taken me out on a date. Like,
I mean, that is like so silly, but it's so clearly written to be like, women.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, Galacticus is gonna come to Earth, and Sue is like, why haven't we eaten out together in a while?
And it's like, it really should be viewed as like, Reed is like, a protector of the world. He's taken on that role and that responsibility, but he like also needs to respect his like family and his relationships. He can't let his work be all consuming. There's the part, and I think they start to get to that a little bit, the part where like Sue almost gets hurt by like there was like an explosion in his lab, and he was all like, hey, what are you even doing here? But they never follow up on that. It's like, like for as much as Ben gets to like, walk around and talk to himself, in his head about like, how he's feeling, we don't really get like Reed being all like, I really messed up with Sue. Like it's just like, very much like, you're my wife, listen to me.
Yeah,
and also the part where Reed is like about to go into this machine, and she's like, this has never been done before, this is really dangerous, and Reed's like, I'm gonna have a rope so you can pull me back. It's like, Sue, you're so silly. I have to go into this potential death machine that nobody's ever tried before.
And no, you cannot come with me.
Yeah. Because you might die. Don't worry about me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, even like Ben, that's shown that Ben doesn't even need the helmet or whatever. Mm-hmm. Or the breathing apparatus, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But nah, Reed gotta go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It would have been great potentially if they just like sent Ben, I guess, but also maybe nobody would be strong enough to pull him back if they needed to. I don't know.
I'm thinking more of like also if you're trying to research it, you want to go in and research it, right?
Yeah, that's true. He'd just be
You're like, Ben, what did you see? He's like, I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah.
I saw discs.
Yeah. I saw the Earth being destroyed. It was weird. Also, yeah, kind of wild even that he was like, Ben, I need you to hold on to the cable and reel me back. Like, why not? Did they had winches invented? Like,
No. A machine that pulls back a cable when you give it the signal.
Yeah, like just make
that's too much.
Press a button and
yeah,
it winds you back.
Too complex.
But yeah, and I think the other thing that I think was like kind of like rough on the sensibilities in like less of a social way, but more in like a comics making way was like, some of the like wordiness,
Oh yeah.
Stanley is very, very wordy.
Mm-hmm.
The usual like explaining what something is as we show it and it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I particularly found that egregious with Mr. Fantastic going through the negative zone and him explaining like, oh, I'm traveling and being drifted off by some unknown current or something like that. Like,
yeah.
I was like, you should have just drawn different panels.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man. Okay, yeah, actually, I'll mention that later a little bit, but yeah, I agree. Was there anything else on that question, though? I think we kind of got at the heart of it.
It's mostly Sue and a little bit of Alicia, right?
Yeah.
I guess I was really worried about the moment he like flopped in front of some woman because I didn't recognize it as Alicia at first. I was like, don't tell me romance is what saves him. Pleasantly surprised by the fact that Alicia was like, maybe you should be a good person and think about other people.
Yeah.
Like the human race. And he was like, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
I will say, I find it kind of strange that Ben, knowing Alicia is blind, was so offended, or not offended, so hurt that she like rushed to get to Silver Surfer.
I mean, if it's your loved one, right? You're like, oh, I'm here. And they're like, oh, thank God you're safe, person I just met.
Yeah.
I get it. It is definitely like, I guess it's Ben, right? It's Ben not even being willing to communicate with her.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair. Yeah.
He doesn't confront her. I don't want him to confront her in a rude way.
Yeah.
But he doesn't say anything. He's just like, I understand. I'm not needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't even there for when you guys met, but like, I guess somehow.
So I almost thought the same as Ben. I was like, wait, does she actually like him more? Silver Surfer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely seemed that way. Especially like, I think it was weird a little bit. Like it almost seemed like when he says something to her, like, oh, of course I'm okay, or something like that, it almost seemed like that should have been a thought bubble or something, because how did she not hear that?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair. Yeah.
That's the main thing she does, right? Here,
yeah.
Here
and feel
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The presence of a loved one nearby.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool though. So, moving on to our last question of the theme. How do you think this story would be different in modern day? Like, what would you do to like kind of change it? And I'm pretty open to interpretations of that question too. Like, basically like, make it your best version, I guess.
Yeah. So for me, just want to have something to say.
No, I'm sorry. I'm thinking still.
Oh, okay. So to me, when I think about it, I think of it more in terms of the Fantastic Four, like how they are, like their character dynamics, like trying to bring that more, or the focus being on that. And so to me, I think in a lot of ways, I'm imagining the upcoming Fantastic Four movie to do kind of what I'm thinking, where it's like more Sue and Reed are more like equals in terms of, we're both leading this team. We're both scientists,
Yeah, and like,
Is she a scientist?
No, in this one, she's really just a society lady,
Okay.
Yeah.
Did they change that since then?
Yeah, they have.
Yeah, I appreciate the idea of them like science
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's been like she is the most powerful member of the Fantastic Four. Her like force fields and ability to make things invisible, like, very underutilized in the early days, but very quickly it's like, yeah, you can essentially like kill anybody, because you can project those force fields anywhere. You can put them in the center of their brain and just expand.
Yeah, they did touch on that in
the Ultimates, yeah. Ultimate Fantastic Four.
No, I was actually thinking of Fantastic Four: The Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Oh, yeah. The movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Would Johnny Storm be in high school? I feel like he wouldn't. I don't think he would.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be immature, but he's still an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they start,
I think that's part of his drawback, right? He's supposed to be an adult, but he's so immature in some ways.
Yeah, when they start the series, because I think he's like a year older than Peter Parker.
Okay.
Like, so, definitely like at the very least starts like as a senior in high school or something. But yeah, quickly is no longer in high school. Because that's right. Actually, no, maybe he is out of high school by the time, like, because I remember Spider-Man is like about a year out from the Fantastic Four like premiering, and by then the Human Torch is like talking to high schoolers like at an assembly at Peter Parker's high school.
Oh, I see. I see. Okay.
So yeah.
So maybe a couple years.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Basically like college age. But yeah. I think that if you were done with your interpretation.
Yeah, I was done.
Yeah. I think that I would give much more room to some of like the cosmic horror aspects that they're kind of dabbling in. Like, when like first like less of a horror aspect, but like, yeah, I think that one, like we see like the Skrulls like hiding, and I think like a lot more like drama and presence could be given to that. Like, even like, they would never do this in this era. But since, it is for modern times now, because back then it would be all like, if you just blacked out a panel, it'd be like, oh, well, I'm not paying you for that. But, yeah, I think like, okay, shut off all the lights, like we can't be seen, and, yeah, just like, yeah, making like, honestly, you could make the Silver Surfer even more menacing. Like, we can do like, visual stuff afterwards to like make him a little bit less, menacing looking once he turns. But before we know anything about him, it's like, and then
I'd almost think like you don't even see him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like you might see flashes or something.
Right. Yeah, something like that. And then
I'm curious how you would make him interact with Alicia then.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is that, like, yeah, his appearance wouldn't matter to Alicia, you know, similar to Ben. It's
Just
like
a presence.
Yeah. And like, so yeah, it's like, wow, you're not scared of me. Like you can,
Yeah.
like, yeah, you know, honestly, I would probably also like, I think that Alicia should have some like low level, like empathic abilities probably. Cause they kind of like are like, they kind of do that, but without being like, they're
That's fair. Yeah.
yeah, because the background on her too is that her father is the puppet master. He uses
Like the mutant.
I don't know if he's a mutant. He uses magic clay, and basically he can like voodoo doll people.
Huh. Okay, yeah, we're thinking of different people.
Yeah. So yeah, he's a Fantastic Four villain, but she is the daughter of him, and so I feel like you could like kind of have some relationship where you might have to slightly tweak the powers of the puppet master, but like, you know, have that be like a shared power or something.
Or it could be a random roll of the dice.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, or they, you know, they could be mutants, and maybe she just also has powers, but they're different. I don't know, something like that. The fine details aren't important, but basically she has like, you know, the ability to like read people's emotions and see like their true selves.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and
That would be much more interesting than what they call Sue Storm's feminine intuition.
yeah, exactly.
Oh no! Did you not realize that Sue Storm also?
Yeah.
Oh man, what was the word that you said?
Word for
Telepathic
what?
ability. Yeah, Sue Storm also has telepathic
Oh,
ability.
empathic.
Empathic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 No. But yeah, so I would do that. And then, yeah, I think that I'd also want a little bit more presence of like Galactus, you know, I think.
What do you mean by presence?
I'm trying to land on that a little bit, but what I'm missing is it doesn't really feel like he's very imposing, even though that's what they want to convey. You know, they do it by being all like, well, they can't like beat him, you know, and it's like, but I don't know, I don't feel how big he is yet all the way. I think that would come with like probably like some like more like splash pages and like maybe like city destruction, you know, like and seeing what happens to like people, you know, like average people, like how it's like you know, messing things up.
Yeah. I kind of, you know, you saying that makes me think like I would kind of wonder if they could do it where like Johnny going through, you know, space and like trying to get to Galactus's homeworld, Uatu says something like, you know, when he comes back, he's like, oh, he's in shock, you know, he's like, and he's probably not going to remember it. It's like, what if Galactus's presence was like that, whereas like you kind of can't believe what you're seeing.
Yeah. I mean, that would almost be funny too if it was like you know, it's like Uatu's all like, wait, what are you guys seeing? And they like have to like draw it up, and was like, wow, yeah, okay, I get it. He looks like, you know, an Earth supervillain, you know. And you can hear him speaking English, but we're not speaking English to each other. You know? It's like it's just what your brain can perceive him as.
Yeah. Or not even that. Well, I mean, I guess your perspective, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's because like when Reed is going through like the space-time machine thing, he's all like, wow, I'm perceiving a dimension with like, or a universe with 4 dimensions with my 3-dimensional perspective, you know. He's recognizing that his biological instruments are not actually seeing what is in front of him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with that too, I wanted to say that for both Johnny's trip through space-time and Reed's, I think that I would really play up like different like panel stuff, like if like having like 4 like long horizontal panels, and like like Reed with the cable on his back, but it's like basically like the cable through one and then the cable through another, and then just going down until you finally see like him at the end of that cable. Or like you could also do like the same thing, like following the cable around in a spiral of panels.
Oh, okay.
Like a 9 or a 3x3 grid, but instead of reading it left to right, you just follow the cable around in a spiral until he's in the center. Stuff like that. And then
some more panel variants.
Yeah,
more thinking.
Yeah. And using it to effect for like, we're in a weird place where time and space don't work like it works outside.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then I think for Johnny's trip, even though it's like ostensibly like the same thing, I think that I would just make that more grand, like
it was cool seeing him like flying through those specific little like squiggly, I can't remember what they're called, like
the unlife.
Anti-life.
Oh,
yeah. Sorry. And if they had something to emphasize that, I think that would have been cool. Like the idea that if you even touch that, you're dead.
Yeah.
They're kind of like, well, at least he can fly. That's really scary.
I just imagine like the portal opens up, Johnny goes through the portal, and then a ladybug was just flying innocently right before the portal opened, goes through the portal, lands on the on life, and goes.
Yeah. Yeah, or maybe it would be kind of funny too. Maybe it would be a little too on the nose, but like comes into like and makes friends with like an actual like space ant, like, but then it dies.
Oh
it's
no,
like,
Anthony!
Yeah, right. I don't know if that would become like too comical, where it's like I want it to like still have some impact and like seriousness, but like without so much impact where it's like, yeah, my actual friend died. It's like something where it's like, oh, I just understood the gravity of all of this,
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
I like your first mention of cosmic, but less of a horror. So like, I don't know, I think a little bit of like Annihilation, if you've seen that movie. And I feel like in general, when we're saying like modern, I think all of us unintentionally are thinking of like movies to some extent.
Yeah.
Like, how do we make this more cinematic? It's hard. They're doing 3 issues. They're trying to do a lot of stuff. There's reactions from characters are very much like happen within one panel and are also narrated.
Yeah. So do away with that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not. It's definitely ages it. I do think, sometimes things are explained, and I say, oh, they're explained and they're shown. Sometimes they're not really shown; they're just explained, like what's happening. I'm like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to get from this panel.
Yeah.
And that's probably just because of the short issue length.
No, totally. Yeah, I think that combined with sometimes Stan and Jack were on different pages on how the story should go. So it's like if Jack's like, no, this is how I'm drawing it, and Stan's like, well, too bad, I'm gonna write this in instead. So yeah, I think both of those aspects of it. But yeah, I do see like, kind of the cinematic aspect of it. I also think that I'm not sure that I would really I think that this monster would be not part of the same thing,
Yeah.
I think we're really dealing with 2 different classics.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, I don't even think you would even need to change anything for this man, this monster.
Yeah, I think...
Would we keep the, like, Alicia, Ben misunderstanding?
Yeah.
I would want it more believable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that a lot of what is missing from Alicia is her perspective, you know?
Yeah.
We don't get to see her at home kind of hurt that, you know, Ben didn't want to speak to her and that he hasn't called her, hasn't, you know, dropped by. But also not, you know, it's been a couple of days, so she's kind of like self-soothed, and she's like, you know, it's not going to be all consuming for her either.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. But I do think that it makes sense for her, or for both of them to be upset and to, because I think that, like, when you have a romantic relationship that's not super defined like that, it's easy to get hurt, you know? I think that is totally possible in a modern, you know, sense. Like, I mean, this is making a joke of it a little bit, but, like, you know, call it a situationship, you know? It's like, oh, I thought that we were a thing, and now it looks like we're not a thing.
No, but you're the thing.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Would we keep Johnny going to college in this? I think it could be good as, like, a everyday kind of slot in.
Yeah. I would still connect it a little bit more to the events of Galactus, where I would be like, he needs to take his mind off of basically a tragedy that just happened to him, you know, which he kind of says that, actually. He's like, he wants to get his mind off of Crystal. So that is actually part of the original. But, like, you know, making that a little bit more clear that he's still pretty distraught about that, and, like, this is going to be his distraction. And then, like, also, but having it, like, be all, like, wow, I was, like, when I was drifting through space-time, like, I realized, like, how little I knew about anything. I need to expand my horizons, you know?
Maybe he wants to even leave college, and because he's, like, encounters that, he's, like, wants to expand his horizons, and he sees college as a way of doing that.
Yeah. Or did you mean leave the team?
No. Well, maybe, you know, he tries to join college, you know, Johnny's his usual self, but he kind of wants to blow it off.
I see.
And through the events of the movie, decides to dedicate himself to it.
I see. Okay, starting wanting to leave college.
Yeah, he joins at the beginning, and it's not working out for him, according to him.
Yeah. Okay, I totally see what you mean. Yeah, I think I'd like that. And I mentioned this because I was having this idea. I think that by the end, too, to focus more on college, it would be cool if he was like, and I think I should leave the Fantastic Four, you know? I don't have time to, you know, be a hero and do college. And I think, you know, and then that could be like when you get to this man, this monster, and Reed is really stressed. He's stressed about, like, you know, intergalactic bad guys. It's all like, and we're down a guy. Like, we don't.
We're the Fantastic Three.
Yeah.
Who is that?
Yeah, we're like, we are in big trouble if we like we get big trouble like at least once a month. Like, so yeah, like having that like add into stress and anxiety, you know, and like snapping at Sue more, and like having that be a little bit more understandable. Like, even it's not right, but it's all like, oh yeah, you are stressed to the max. You see the big picture because you're that smart, you know?
Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah.
And you know that, like, we're not going to keep getting lucky if, you know?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's my thoughts. Cool. I think that we kind of just worked on that together.
Yes,
like,
Yeah. I don't know how to separate cinematic movie style from a modern reimagining, since I feel like I don't know enough about the Fantastic Four's characterization that's changed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the important things, like, and I think, you know, one of the things that was important to, like, the very beginning is the ways that, like, their powers both reflect and don't reflect their implicit characterization, you know? Reed is like a stick in the mud who, like, you know, is too stiff, and so he has flexibility now.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And Sue, you know, she in her origins, you know, is all about, like, you know, looks and what people think of her, and so she can turn invisible, you know, so people can never see her. And then Johnny, of course, is, like, kind of the easiest. He's a hothead, and his temper gets him in trouble, so he has flame powers. And then the Thing, you know, he has always struggled with, like, you know, self-image and you know, not thinking that he's, like, good enough, and so, you know, that reflects on his outside.
That makes me want to have their that interaction with their personalities and their powers be more played on. With, like, I don't know, I guess I don't exactly know how you would do Reed with being a stick in the mud, but, like, with Sue, maybe she'd be, like, really vain, and she'd have a hard time controlling her powers, so I'd sometimes she's just invisible for a long stretch of time, and, like, that messes with her, or
because that's embarrassing.
Right. Well, it's like, for her, it's like
she's invisible. Yeah,
she's invisible, she wants to be seen, but and then with Johnny, it's like being a hothead, maybe his powers activate when he's, like, angered, you know,
right?
He's like, I can't, like, and people get hurt, like, I can't keep doing this kind of thing.
Yeah. And as far as Reed, I think that honestly we do see that, where it's like, it's less that, like, you know, so when somebody says a stick in the mud, they might mean, like, kind of like a party pooper, you know, but it's like, you know, we see, like, he is so wound up, you know, he has high anxiety and no time for, like, jokes and fun, you know. It's like, no, we have to be serious about this.
I that kind of makes me think, like, it maybe for him it would be like the more stressed he gets, the less he's able to control his form.
Yeah, I mean, in later iterations, they've said that he has to really focus to keep his form, actually. So maybe it's, you know, you could say it's the opposite even, which, I mean, is how they do it now, is like, you know, the more he loosens up, the less composed he is, you know? And so there's that danger to it, you know? Like...
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like, he has to be, you know, otherwise he's just going to melt into a puddle, you know? And, yeah.
Yeah.
He has to focus all the time, even when he's sleeping.
You just, like, see Sue wake up in the middle of the night. It's like, where'd he go?
Overly focused.
Yeah. And yeah, maybe he doesn't even want to sleep. Maybe he's like keeping himself awake all the time.
Oh man, that was good. Yeah.
Surely the new movie will do all of this.
Yeah. I'm sure. Yeah. That's right. Okay. But yeah, so I think that is pretty much the end of our episode. But what is one thing we'd hope to see as this story continues? Is there anything? Like, I mean, I know it's like, as we talked about, it's like an ongoing comics thing. We know that the next issue is like the introduction of the Black Panther. But, you know, is there, like, going from this man, this monster, and the characterization that we know so far from these issues of the Fantastic Four, is there anything that we want to see from them?
I guess I want to see how Alicia and Ben's relationship changes after this. I'd like it to change a little bit. Mm-hmm. He still hasn't gone to go see her ever since he got his thing, became the thing again.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't face her.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm curious what would change that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now they're about to ship off to Africa, to Wakanda.
That was more than one sentence, but oh well.
Yeah.
Honestly, I got nothing.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Talon was here for the story, or here for the character interactions.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They better have more of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, I want to see Reed and Sue's relationship evolve a little bit more. I want to see, just like the, I don't, obviously I think that it needs to be something that grows into, but because they are already a family unit, but the kind of the aspects that we saw in This Man, This Monster, where Reed and Sue were so happy that Ben was back and not dead, that seeing that between the four of them, how their high highs together and their low lows together, and how they...
I would like to see how they can take advantage of Sue's powers for something.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Okay. That is our review of the Galactus saga, The Coming of Galactus, and This Man, This Monster. If you like this episode, be sure to follow us on Twitter at TheComicPanel1 and listen to more of us on Spotify at our The Comic Panel podcast. Sorry. You can also listen to us on KSUARadio.com or 91.5 FM in Fairbanks, Alaska. Be sure to tune in 2 weeks from now for our next book, Cordial Maltese. I'm Cody.
I'm Talon.
And I'm Shawenta.
And I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.